Welcome everyone to this evening's class. My name is William. Today I've been asked to give a quick speech or presentation just talking about how to start like a casual conversation, how to have a chat with someone who's a stranger. And the reason I've been asked to talk about this is because I have a lot of students as an English teacher, and one of the things people tell me is that they're always a little bit shy, a little bit worried about talking to native speakers because they think their English level isn't good enough. All right, so tonight hopefully I can give you guys a little bit of confidence and give you some strategies in terms of how to talk to people. And I can also share a couple of stories, so it's going to be just a nice casual talk, and hopefully you can pick up some useful tips. Okay, I want to start off with a quick little story. So this was something that happened when I was talking with one of my students maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This was a student who was learning IELTS, and we finished a class, and he said to me, "Thank you very much. I need to go and attend another web class now." So I was very interested, and I was asking, "Oh, cool. What else are you studying?" Right? And that student said to me, "I'm taking a class on dating." And I was very interested because that's the first time I've heard of a class like that. So I asked, "Okay, what kind of class is that?" And then he said, "Oh, it's a very good class. What happens is you connect onto Zoom or something like that, and then the teacher will teach you lots of tips about how to ask girls out and things like that." Right. So I was very interested. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And what kind, what kind of tips do they give you? So he showed me like a very short video, 15-minute like sample video for all these pickup tips, and I watched through it, and I remember it was quite interesting, and it went something like this. So they said, right, if you want to be good at talking to ladies and things like that, you need to go through these steps. I've got a guaranteed way for you to be super appealing and super attractive to many women. And he said, okay, step number 1, make sure you stand very close up to them and put one arm out right next to them like that. Okay, so basically something along these lines. And then he said, next, I'll give you a couple of magic conversational tips that you can follow, right, to get into a really interesting conversation. And those tips went something like this. Number 1, ask them their name. And then after they tell you their name, every single time you speak to them, put their name in the sentence in the first couple of words. Next, start some casual talk, like what are your hobbies? What would you like to do on the weekend? And things like that. And finally, finish off with the most interesting question of all, which is, what's your star sign? Right? Are you a Cancer? Are you an Aquarius? Are you a Pisces? Or something like that. Apparently, that is an amazing conversation starter. So I remember watching this video, and I thought to myself, well, I don't know how effective this is going to be for finding a girlfriend or something like that, but there was actually a lot of good information in that particular video. A lot of these general ideas that's been shown here are actually some of the most simple tips that you can pick up for how to start a conversation. What you'll find is that the hardest part about talking to someone new, talking to a stranger, is you're just not very sure how to begin the conversation. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the way you should kind of present yourself, right, and ways that you can kind of build up your own confidence if you want to speak to someone new. And I should just very quickly say, you should never be scared to talk to a native speaker. Native speakers are not really any different from any other people you talk to. Okay, everyone you talk to is nervous. Everyone is anxious, right? They're just as nervous talking to you as you are talking to them. All right, so let's get into this. And remember, this method was told to me as being 100% effective. So tonight we're going to have a little look at just how effective it actually is. Okay, let's start with the most basic thing. We'll come back to this photo here, and let's start by talking about this thing called body language, right? Whenever you talk to someone, you should already know that confidence is one of the most important things that you're supposed to project, right? It doesn't matter how you feel inside, if you're nervous or anxious, on the outside, you want to be very confident. That way, the other person talking to you can feel very comfortable. If you're acting very nervous, if you're acting very uncomfortable, that makes the other person uncomfortable as well. So if you've had a bad conversation with people, a lot of the times it's to do with your own posture and the way that you're presenting yourself. Now, if we look at this photo here, I'm not 100% sure that this is the best way to engage someone necessarily. Right? If you have your arm out next to them, you're kind of intruding on their personal space, right? Some people like it, perhaps, but I would say most people would feel kind of uncomfortable like that. A man being slightly taller, looking down on someone, gives you a bit of a position of power, which again, may be good in some situations, but mostly seems a little bit disrespectful. But there are definitely some good things, right? There's the eye contact, there's that kind of close intensity. These are all things that can definitely work out for you during a speech. One of the things that my teachers taught me when I was young, when they taught us public speaking, they always said, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Okay, and what this means is this is the proper stance to show your confidence, which is you want to make sure you have a straight posture, and putting your shoulders back shows your confidence. If your chest is facing outwards, right, that shows that you're ready to engage someone. A lot of people who I talk to start off like this, right? When you're in this kind of posture, what it tells people is that you're feeling very nervous and you're feeling very defensive, like you don't actually want to engage them. So that kind of posture, right, a lot of your intention is communicated through the way that you sit or the way that you stand. The next thing, of course, is eye contact, right? A lot of people think that eye contact is all about respect, right? They think if I'm looking at you, that means I'm interested in what you're talking about. That means I respect you as a person. And that definitely is true, right? But one of the even more important things about eye contact is that you always want to look at whoever you're speaking to so you can see their reactions. Right. Remember that the other person also has body language. They may be nervous, they may be anxious. Depending on what they're showing you, right, you can react to it. For example, if the other person is looking at the ceiling when you're talking, that's usually an indication that whatever you're saying is a little bit boring or they're not very engaged in it. That's when you might decide to change the topic. Right? If they're looking around side to side, it usually means that they're looking for a way out. In that case, you might just say goodbye, thank you very much for your time. Right? The body language of another person is actually one of the key features of being able to speak well. So that comes with the confidence kind of thing. Always look at the other person, right, and try to react to the way that they're sitting. And of course, talk with a bit of energy. Generally speaking, you want to bring a lot of positive energy to your speech. Even though I'm sure you've had situations where you've heard people who like to talk a lot, they love to complain. Generally speaking, people will always respond better if you have a lot of really positive energy when you're talking about things. And what I mean is it doesn't really matter what you're talking about, right? Always kind of have that bright, cheerful tone, have a big smile on your face. That way, it doesn't even matter if you make mistakes, people will have a bit of a positive impression on you. Okay, so those are some of the most basic kind of techniques that you can use to start a conversation off in a nice, comfortable space. And of course, the last thing is, and this one is a bit of an interesting one, if you like following psychology, one of the things that we found is that copying another person's posture and movements is a great way for you to connect with them on a subconscious level. Okay, what I'm talking about here is literally when you're sitting down, try to sit in exactly the same way as the other person. If they're crossing their legs, you cross your legs, right? If they've got arms behind their back in a very relaxed position, you do exactly the same thing. Now, why do we do that? Well, it's actually not a secret. The answer is because everybody is more comfortable around people who are similar to them. And when you copy the other person, what you're doing is you're signaling that we are the same in some way, right? Like we're both Chinese, or we're both very relaxed people, or something like that. And over time, subconsciously, they start becoming more and more attached to you, more and more open towards you. This is something which a lot of people, kind of very good public speakers, very good social people, will automatically do. And you can run this experiment with your friends as well. Next time you're in your friends group, right, just choose a random person and basically copy every single thing they do in terms of motion. Don't make it too obvious, right? If you copy them, you're going to see that after a while, the two of you will start mirroring each other. And then you can take the lead. You can, for example, grab a cup and take a drink, and you'll see that the other person does the same thing. Normally, it takes less than 10 minutes to get to that particular stage. And it's a great way to help people feel a bit more comfortable. So overall, just as a quick summary, step one is to have good, positive, strong body language, right? That way people are happier to talk to you in general. Now, when it comes to talking itself, there's a lot of different skills that you can bring to the table, right? Tonight, I'm going to go over some of the most basic language skills, mostly, that you can think about if you want to start a conversation.